Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast, where we interview experts in driver recruiting. We provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to help you level up your recruiting game. Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Craddock, and today we have Kelley Jones with Kennesaw Transport. Thank you for joining us today, Kelley.
My pleasure.
I'm excited to dive more into just what you've learned from being in the industry all these years, and then just to get to know you better. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So Kelley has been at Kennesaw for over 20 years and has been in the industry in transportation and around it for over 35 years. Kelley, if you want to just walk us through a little bit of your story, like how did you get into transportation and then how did you end up at Kennesaw?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out, I had a friend in school and her dad owned a garbage company. It was called Complete Sanitation, and he had garbage and portable toilets. And I would go there after school when I was in high school and I would work. And he ended up selling his business. He sold the garbage part to BFI. He sold the portable toilet part to Waste Management and recommended that if they took someone to take me, and I was a teenager, not realizing that, well, this is a good opportunity. But 15 years later, I was still at Waste Management. Great opportunity. I was a dispatcher. And so I worked with drivers every day. They were local drivers and just built great relationships. Watching them, seeing them every day. I watched them get married and have kids and, all that kind of stuff. But I loved the hectic, stressful atmosphere of dispatching and the relationship of drivers. They're just some of the best people. But anyway, they ended up, Waste Management closed the location where I was working in Woodstock, Georgia. So I had a couple of options of locations that I could go and work, but they were both more than I wanted to travel every day. I had at that time 4 young kids at home. So I got a severance package, and me and my husband ended up opening a portable toilet business, of all things. And it was Rusty and Kelley Jones. So our portable toilet business was Johnny's by Jones. Our logo or slogan was, we're number one in the number two business. And it was just an experience. We started out with one trailer and a tractor load full of portable toilets and just built up that business for 4, 5 long, stressful years. And sold out. And so at that point, I'm looking for a job. And at this time, we were still looking in the newspaper. And I saw a recruiter and I saw, oh, my goodness, this is in the same town I live in. I can actually drive to work in 10 to 15 minutes. So it was for a recruiter. I came and I interviewed for the position and was accepted. So I wasn't real sure what a recruiter was. I mean, I knew of a recruiter with the service, with the Army and Marines, but I quickly learned that recruiters are liars and they tell you everything you want to hear. And this is all from the drivers. This is what I hear from the drivers. So I came on board. I didn't like that, to be stereotyped as like a used car salesman. That's how they're stereotyped. So we did some changes pretty quickly. It was real important for me to give the drivers accurate information. Of course, I'm just in a sales position. That's what a recruiter is. So yes, I want the picture to be painted pretty, and I want them to come and drive for Kennesaw. But I think that we can be just honest, and instead of giving them the top 3 pay grades that our best drivers might get, give them more of a realistic, this is what you can expect to get paid. Or this is what you can expect as far as the miles that you're going to run every week. It was important to me that we moved orientation from our safety department to recruiting. We've been doing that over 15 years now. So there's 4 of us, including myself, in recruiting. And we also do the orientation every week here at Kennesaw. So To answer your question, I mean, drivers is all I've ever worked with. I love it. I tell anybody that starts in the industry to keep notes. You could probably write a book that would be great with all the stories that you're going to hear. They definitely keep it interesting. But over my time, I have worked with drivers and I've been involved in things like Relay for Life, the cancer. I've worked with them through just 9/11, through COVID, through just major things, just most recently the hurricane. And drivers are some of the most giving, hardworking, just if you want to work with good people, and I do, I'm in the perfect industry.
What has Kennesaw been able to do for the hurricane victims?
Yeah, so probably some things that I may not even be aware of, but what I am aware of, we recently, last week, we set a trailer down in Noonan, Georgia, Delta, maybe community college, but we set a trailer down there for the community to load, and then it was delivered, I want to say, to South Georgia. We also recently, last week, maybe Thursday or Friday, took 2 tractor trailers and we loaded ice. And this was through, I think Verizon was who we were working with, just to get ice down there to restore phone services, medicine to be delivered, just anything to workers, survivors, just everybody. So that's what I'm aware of that we've done.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love how our nation and communities pull together when hard things happen.
It's amazing. I put something on my social media last week because I think about just what I know and what I'm involved in. And so I look at my company and how everybody has jumped in, and I look at my church and all the things that they've done and they are doing, and just things that I'm involved in our community. I love it. It makes you realize that the things that I think are a problem to me are no problem at all, and how blessed I am.
So one of the things as we were talking through your fleet composition, like in the pre-call, when you met with Ginger, was that you're 32% female driver fleet. So if you want to just walk our audience through, like how did you get to a 32% female driving fleet?
Yeah, we joke about that a lot. We laugh about that a lot because when I started, I walked into what I call the boys club, so it was in our first managers meeting because we had men. And so we look back and say, oh, it's the first female on our management team. And my boss, Kelley Patrick, is a female, and our Linda, the owner, is a female. So that's in the office. But as far as drivers, I think, I read statistics and that 7%, 9% of the industry is females, and we're at 32% female. But that does play a role in the fact that we're very team oriented. We do have solo trucks, but we do have a lot of teams, and that's the majority of what we do, running back and forth to the West Coast. So with that said, a lot of what we are hiring is husband and wives, friends, moms and daughters, and so anyway, we just have a lot too in the truck, and more females are getting into this industry. We have what we call here a family plan team. And so what that is if my husband has been driving for the last 20 years and I'm working locally and raising the kids, and now the kids are grown and I want to go to truck driving school, and he can be my trainer. In the past, a lot of companies, you're going with somebody you don't know and they're your trainer. So this is an ideal situation to bring new quality drivers into the business and let the person they know and love train them.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I found cool about your story is just coming in as a recruiter and then being promoted into that director of recruiting role. Do you have any advice for other recruiters that are looking to kind of grow in their career, get into a leadership role, things like that?
Yeah. I think I get my parents instilled just good work ethics in me. I've always enjoyed what I do. I do enjoy what I do. And so I think to work, I bring an energy with me. I bring a good attitude with me, and attitudes are contagious and they show. If I had advice that I give my kids or my grandkids, don't get involved in the gossip. Don't be content. Don't get into the negativity. I mentioned being honest. You can sell your company. If you believe in what you're selling, you can sell it and give realistic expectations for the person that's coming in. But I think just the qualities that we have within, it doesn't matter to me, my opinion, it really doesn't matter how much education you got, how many years you went to college. In this is a people's hands-on job, so for me, it's the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. We all put our pants on the same way. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. And I love people. I love learning about, and I'm comfortable with people, learning what they do. And that could be that you're a doctor or a lawyer, or you're pumping the portable toilets at the fair this weekend. It's just building those relationships is a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember my first job out of school. Yeah, it was my first job out of college, was selling cell phones at the AT&T store because we were coming out of the '08 financial crisis when I graduated undergrad. And at the store, the manager was like, "Do you mind scrubbing the toilets if that's what I ask you to do?" And I was like, "I don't care. No job is beneath me or anything like that. Like, what needs to get done needs to get done." So
that is true. That is true.
And
that nothing is below you, and I think when you have people on your team, I know that when you have people on your team, those are the qualities that you're looking for. You're looking for the person that says, "I'll do it. I can do it. Where do you need me to help you?" Those are the ones that you're going to look at in the future when a position comes available. You're going to be looking at the go-getters, not the ones that are just barely doing what they have to do to get by.
That's right. Now let's take a minute to thank today's sponsor. Do you hire truck drivers in hard-to-fill areas, or do you need help creating efficiency in your recruiting department? You're not alone. With 50-plus years experience, Trucking Click specializes in data-driven strategies, industry-leading customer experience, and custom solutions that'll get you to your goal. Trucking Clicks is your go-to place for high-quality, direct leads at scale. Visit truckingclicks.com or call 512-982-0816 today. So the next question, one of the things we talk about in each of the episodes is just what are people seeing with the market? And so that's kind of my next question, Kelley, for you is, what are you seeing in the market in terms of freight and in terms of recruiting drivers?
Yeah. So, well, thankfully today, I can say that we've seen the freight pick up, the rates pick up. It's kind of like a roller coaster in my experience in this industry. Drivers are plentiful, and then they're not. And so when recruiting is doing very well, usually the eyes are on operations or sales or areas like that. But yeah, 2023 was a tough year for freight. We do see things picking up for sure. So that's exciting. And as far as drivers are plentiful right now, especially for certain areas. I've said that what we're looking for right now, we're hiring for team drivers, which is kind of like finding the needle in the haystack. When I talk to other recruiters or, people in the same industry, it's like, oh yeah, teams, and especially ready-made teams, a husband and wife. Perfect. That's the pick of the litter right there. So, I do think that with the clearinghouse, obviously, lost a lot of drivers to that. a lot of drivers are looking to be home, if not weekly. They're looking to be home daily. They're looking for regional. They're looking for local. And there's a lot more of that out there, especially in today's time. When we want to get online and with a click of a button, I did it yesterday. One of the grandkids needed something, and within 5 minutes, I was online. I ordered it, and it is supposed to be here today. So that's drivers hopping in a truck and getting something here quickly. We haul refrigerated freight, and we haul it back and forth to the West Coast. So we're looking for those 2 people in a truck to run an average of 6,000 miles a week, and at least do that a couple of weeks before coming in and taking some home time. Mm-hmm. So that's probably that's the challenging thing for us right now.
Mm-hmm. You're looking for road warrior couples or teams that can that want to get out there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's encouraging hearing. I've heard that from a few different fleets I've talked with spoke with in the last few weeks, that they see rates picking up in their particular niche and are somewhat optimistic. I haven't talked to anyone that's crazy optimistic about next year, just like, oh, we're going to crush it in 2025. But I have heard just kind of consistent.
Yeah.
And just overall optimism that things are.
Yeah, and it's great to have that attitude of, oh yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be, it is. It's good to have that. But, the proof is in the pudding, as they say, so, but things are definitely looking better.
Has this been an unusually long down cycle, like in terms of freight and?
It has. Yeah, I remember back in 2008, 2009, that was a tough year for transportation. So yeah, that I guess what I would compare, like when I was talking last year, that's what we compared it to was 2008 and 2009.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it feels like in the transportation industry for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things, like we always talk about, like maintaining motivation and a growth mindset, like on this show, because this can be a tough industry and sometimes it's hard. And so specifically, one of the things you had mentioned in our pre-call was the blessing book. So if you want to walk us through a little bit about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have 7 children, and
that's awesome.
Yes, that's right there. I need a blessing, a lot of them. But we've raised 4 kids. They're in their mid-30s, and then God put a situation in our hands. I was not seeking out to have more children. I was very happy with my empty nest, but God put a situation in front of us. We ended up foster parenting what we thought was going to be temporary. 2 years later, we ended up adopting. So we had 2 8-month-old twins and a 5-year-old. So at that time, it was very tough. I mean, now it's still tough because one is 15 and the twins are almost 12. So I'm reaching those beautiful, wonderful teenage years. And but back then, it was hard. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I guess maybe I was grumbling or complaining too much. I don't know. But actually, the owner of our company here, who is the best of the best. I mean, you talk about a giving, a generous, if people in the industry know Pat and Linda Patrick, the owners of Kennesaw, I don't even have to shed any light on it. It just speaks for itself, the kind of people that they are. But anyway, she and I were having lunch one day, and, she was telling me, she said, Kelley, if you don't seek out and really notice the blessings that God's given you every day when you're in these trials, that you'll miss them, And she said, this is what you need to do. You need to just get you a little notebook, call it a blessing book. And whenever something good happens to you, just jot it down. It doesn't have to be something huge. It can be anything, and so thankfully 11 years ago, I took her up on that and I did that. And sometimes I put the book in a drawer and I might pull it back out in a year. Literally. It's not something I can say that I just religiously do all the time. I don't. But is there a lot of things in that book? Yes. And I look back and I realize what blessings they were. I mean, it was just little things, that the kids graduated from this, or my daughter finished college. Now this one's a nurse. This one's through with the Marines. The hurricane, it's just everything. There's so much that we have to be thankful for. And I think I have to be intentional to look at that stuff every day. If I don't, because our world is crazy and can get depressing sometimes. With everything you see on the news and everything that's going on, there is so much beauty in it, and you just have to really focus on it and notice it. It's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of really good things going on, like in the industry and around the world. And sometimes we just don't hear about them because in traditional media, in media in general, what draws eyeballs is the negativity and the scary things going on in the world, which there are a lot going on. But yeah, if you can, for me, I try to control consumption. So just not watching a lot of that. I found out when I cut out news years ago that for the most part that I still hear it just in conversations, and I'll hear the headlines. And then if there's something I want to dive into that I think I can have impact on, then I'll dive into it.
Yeah.
And then I love writing down the blessings, because it's amazing when you look back on your life, how many good things have happened. And in the moment, you can't really feel it because you feel the pressures of the small things and all the little daily things. But I mean, some of those things you were talking about as small things, like one of your children graduating from Marines or becoming a nurse. I mean, those are major.
Yeah. Or you were saying your wife is traveling and you are watching the kids. And at that moment, I don't know, I'm speaking for you here, but at that moment, it might be like, oh, I got so much going on at work. I need to do this. I need, but looking back, you'll remember that day, and you never know, but you do have to be intentional. I had, my pastor said a decade or so ago, and I remember he said, you are what you eat, you are what you watch, you are what you, and that is so true. It's what we fill ourselves with, and we're the ones in control of that. We're the ones in control of the things that, and what goes in comes out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're so careful with our young kids, just how much they, they don't consume really any media, or have any screen time. And that's something we, will maintain for a long time.
Dude.
And which is kind of ironic, because I'm in marketing and advertising, and everything's about eyeballs and getting in front of the right people at the right time. But because of that, I also know the impact of it, how much it can change your habits and behaviors and thoughts and emotions. So yeah, just caution.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that would be my advice from a mother to young people, the cell phones and the technology and the time spent. I'm preaching to myself, social media. I mean, those are just things that let the kids be kids, and it's out there. I don't know. It wasn't when I was a child, so it's a different world for sure.
So what keeps you motivated, Kelley, whether it's a hard work season or a hard personal season? Because, this industry is a challenge because you're dealing with people, and it can be a tough industry. So what keeps you motivated? Yeah. We mentioned the blessing book, but what are some other things?
Yeah, faith. You definitely have to have that. But, my motivation, number one, is loving what I do. I mean, that's a self-motivator right there. But building relationships, I'm in a position perfect for me, and I'm the yes person, to provide someone with a job and roll out the red carpet to spend their first couple of days with them at their new job. That's motivating. That's training or teaching new recruiters or mentoring someone in the industry. I mean, I think of the people that have helped me, the people that I go to when I have questions, and I want to be that for someone else. I want someone else to say, I worked with Kelley Jones, and I want to finish my race well in life, and that motivates me. I want to finish well. I want to do right. I want to do the things to help people. I always, you go somewhere and the cashier may apologize because she's training someone new, and they're slow. And I don't want to be the person huffing and puffing and getting impatient. I want to be the person that says, hey, it's okay. Everybody's first day is sometime, things like that motivate me. Kind words, that's a motivation.
Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have to recruiters? Because we have like a lot of recruiters that listen to this episode, whether it's in terms of how they address a conversation with a driver or just mentality. Like what advice do you have to, let's say, like a new recruiter in the industry?
Yeah. A new recruiter, phone calls are the best. I mean, we can text and we can email all day long, but there's nothing like a phone call. Now, that doesn't mean, if someone reaches out via text, well, I believe that that's their choice of how they want to communicate. That's what they want. But when you're calling, be slow to talk and just listen, because once you start talking, once they start talking, they'll open up to you. And that's how you build a relationship. Build that relationship as quickly as you can. And you do that by ask a question and then be quiet. Let them talk. And following up, that's huge. Don't make your number of phone calls just so you can meet your daily quota that you have to make, but make as many as you can. I see it here at my job. I see it in the industry. The ones that are doing that extra, just always doing a little more, a few more, they reap the rewards, And then, like I said, a little while ago, just be truthful, be honest, let them know what to expect. Don't give them the best case scenario on the miles that they're going to run every week if they're not going to get that. Because the number one recruiting is retention. I mean, what a lovely world it would be if everyone just came on board and stayed. It doesn't mean we'd be without jobs. Retention is a huge, constant thing. So honesty, phone calls, call people by name, make notes if you have to. Remember that your wife's going out of town and you're watching the kids. Remember that, personal things about that person that you can ask them about later. It shows that you care.
That's really good. Yeah, one of the things I heard recently from John Maxwell talk was he saying that 10% of people, like companies, meet expectations and only 2% exceed expectations. And so even if you can just, in the recruiting process, like make sure you don't oversell it. Like, here are the hard things about the job. Here are the reasons most drivers quit. And like really dive into those. Like, here are some challenges with pay or loading and unloading. Just what are the different challenges?
Be authentic, transparent, because there's always, like you said, there's always going to be a downside to any job you do. So, and you'll have drivers ask you, hey, what's it about the job that most people complain about? Be prepared, give them the truth.
Yeah. And then you're gonna pick that up on the retention. Like they're gonna stay if you actually meet those expectations. And then even further, like if you can be that 2% that exceed those expectations, that's where the real differentiator is too.
Yep.
Is there anything I should have asked that I have not asked yet?
Well, I wished I had the magic answer that would help any recruiter make everything perfect, but I don't. I don't. Mm-hmm. It's a great thing in this industry is I feel like everybody just helps everybody, whether it's conferences that I go to or webinars, people I meet. It's amazing. I think we all want the best thing. We all want to help each other. It's so refreshing when you can just send an email to somebody that you met at a conference that you felt like has a lot more experience than you do in a certain area. And they're there to give you the little hints and tricks of the trade, and that's a great thing. So, one thing I found is when I need help, I ask. When I don't know something, just say, I have no idea, but I'll find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of funny when we started this podcast. I think like there were a few people that were like, "You think people are going to get on there and talk about what's working in recruiting to their competitors?" I'm like, "Yes, like you don't know this industry. Like everybody helps each other." And sure enough, almost everyone I've had come on. I mean, there's only been maybe 2 fleets that have said like no for that reason. Like we don't want to share our secret sauce. But I mean, there's really nothing proprietary in this. Like it's being, authentic and honest and genuine and and leveraging technology well, leveraging relationships well, growth mindset.
Yeah, and to each his own, for drivers, because Kennesaw is not for everybody, and so, drivers are going to find the company that works well with them and meets their needs and does what they want to. And it's just not a cookie cutter position. We find ourselves a lot asking the drivers, well, what do you need? What do you need as far as home time? What do you need? And so, because if it's something we can work with, I'm always used to our jobs, and it's like, okay, well, you're going to come to the office Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, or you're going to work from home. We know exactly, because we've been told, what our expectations are. And we're expecting a lot from a driver to get in a little box with another driver and, live for a couple of weeks. I couldn't imagine. So, yeah, it's definitely something different. But yeah, we'll find ourselves, just asking them. We have to work around. Everything's just not going to fit into one specific way for that driver, for all drivers.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Kelley, for your time today. And I really appreciate it. And I think we added a lot of value to the industry today, just specifically just with talk around honesty and motivation and just your experience, like growing from, coming in a recruiting role and growing to the director of recruiting role. It's just cool and inspirational, and running your own business and building that and selling that. Like these are all just really, really cool stories. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. And
yes, you too. Pleasure was mine. I appreciate it.
We'll be in touch. Thanks, Kelley.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Our goal with the Hire Truckers podcast is to provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to level up your recruiting game. If we added value, take a few seconds to share this with your network. Have a great week.